Lisa.
I'm grateful to be here. I'm loving the content. I'm here going, I gotta write this stuff down, but I'll look at the video. So thank you for having me, Shawn.
It's my pleasure. I'm so grateful for you taking the time to be here with me. And I would love if you just start with your superhero origin story.
Oh my
Let
God.
people know how you got here. Where did you
Yeah,
get started?
amen. It started far away from here, not just geographically,
Yeah.
emotionally, spiritually, financially. I started the journey of self-development to save my own life. I started the journey of human potential development to find out, who I was. I felt like I was seeing a version of me, but I wasn't seeing all of me. You said something very critical in the opening. You talked about it's an inner
Yeah.
game, and I knew that my external circumstances in 1994, if I pick a year, I could pick 92, I could pick 97 because there was a period of time. There wasn't a moment, it was a period of time.
Yeah.
But in 1994, if I pick a moment, I was broke and broken. And I knew that being broke was easier than being broken. Being broke,
Yeah.
I just need to go find out how to make money.
Yeah.
Being broken, I need to find the willpower and the desire to get up and the belief in myself to tell someone I was worthy of being paid. That was the hardest journey. And I had my son in 1994, which it was a combination of the most beautiful time in my life and the lowest point in my life because it was the time that I had something outside of me, my child, something that I saw my heart for the first time outside of my chest. And I was willing to kill away my ego or my she-go for this child. And I had to 8 months after he was born when I had to go get on government's assistance. And I had to stand in the line and ask someone to help me pay my bills and to help me feed my child. And it was one of the most humbling experiences of my life because I was very independent. I'd been working since I was 14. And at 28, I hit a place that I didn't know was rock bottom until I kept feeling something on my back going, I think that's the bottom through
Right.
circumstances.
Yeah.
And one of those circumstances was when he was 8 months old, I ran out of Pampers and I went to the ATM to get $20 out to get my son Jelani Pampers, and it said insufficient funds. And I was just saying the other day, I was delivering a sermon at a church, and I said, I was interviewed 155 times in a 5 month period because I was the first woman in the self-development industry to get paid $1 million to write one book. And it just created a lot of buzz, and I'm very grateful for it. And everyone kept asking me the same question: what did you do? What did you do? What was the moment? What was the moment? And everyone was looking for a moment. So I started looking for a moment, like, what was the moment? Because it wasn't a moment. But if I had to give it a moment, I said to a lot of people that interviewed me, I said, listen, I don't know if you remember that thing that made you decide, but I remember that thing that made me decide. It said $11.42. That I looked at that 18, I looked at that balance, and it was at 7-Eleven. I'll never forget. That's how
Yeah.
broken my life was. I was banking at 7-Eleven. I was just going to the ATM, paying all the extra charges because I didn't even want to go to the bank.
Yeah.
I knew I had some NSF checks there, so just everything was in chaos. And I saw 1142, and I didn't know at the time that was my moment.
Yeah.
But when I look back at it, because everyone kept asking me, what was the moment? The thing that comes in my head was 1142. And then what happened after that? I had to wrap my son Jelani in a series of towels
Wow.
for 2 days. And, someone asked me on another occasion, because every time I tell the story, tears come up. And they said, you've told the story so much. Do you ever just make the tears come up to make the moment more important? I said, no, I'm a mama.
Yeah.
Every time I
Yeah.
tell the story, I'm a mama who had to wrap her son in a towel for 2 days. I don't get excited about telling the story, but I owe you the story because you see public company. I run a multi-million-dollar business. I travel the world. I inspire people. I live a first-class life. But you want to know, more importantly, how did I get there and what was the inspiration? 1142. It was my moment, and I didn't know how to get out of there. It didn't happen overnight when I decided I'm done. There was the ceiling didn't open up and lights didn't come
Right.
down and angels singing and all of a sudden everything got great. No,
Yeah.
nothing changed in my life but my mind. I was bankrupt, and I love to use the word bankrupt because bankrupt means there ain't nothing left.
Yeah.
I'm done with this version. I'm ready to press reset. I was bankrupt with being broken. So I began to search. I became an explorer. I mean, and I wasn't a in school, I was a C average student. I never got above a C plus. I wasn't extraordinary in anything except for track. I just gotta say, I was state champion for the
Let's
record.
go. Let's
I held the
go.
330 low hurdle records for 18 years at my high school. I'm just gonna say, but academically, I didn't surpass anything other than average. Academically, I struggled for 12 years in school. I was considered right above special ed. I found out in my 20s that it was primarily because I'm severely dyslexic. But I didn't know my now I use my dyslexia for my advantage. I
Yeah.
teach holistically.
Yes.
I go both directions when I
Yeah.
teach, right? But then I didn't know. And so 11:42, wrapping my son in Pampers and towels until I can afford to buy him Pampers was my moment. And then I became an explorer of information. I knew that if my external circumstance was going to change, I had to learn what I didn't know. I had to learn what I didn't know because I was already using everything I knew, and what I knew was getting me this, what I was receiving. So apparently, people must know something I don't know, and I just literally someone who didn't. I mean, the last time I took an English class, I got a fail. The last time I took a speech class, I got a D minus, and my English teacher told me I was the weakest writer she had ever met in her entire life, in front of the entire class.
What?
Excuse me, in front of the entire class, and my speech teacher said, Ms. Nichols, quote unquote, I recommend that you never speak in public, that you get a desk job. I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not.
Crazy.
So I had no confirmation
Yeah.
of who I could become, other than my mom and my dad. And they were just like, look, have a good life and don't struggle too much. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you can have everything. It was just don't struggle too much. And when I told my dad I want to be a motivational speaker, he was like, well, what is that? Is that a real job?
Yeah.
Does that come with benefits? You get vacation? Can you feed your baby on that? Like it
Right.
wasn't even a created environment. Now it is. Now it's getting hot. It's popular, but it didn't come with any structure. And so I was bankrupt in who I had become. So I was willing to reinvent Lisa. I was willing to kill away any part of Lisa that was going to hold me back from being the woman that I hadn't even met yet. Now, that's a big statement because when you kill away, that means you have to sign up for being in constant disruption for a very long time. And you also have to sign up to walk by yourself
Right.
for a very long time, possibly.
Yeah.
And so I was okay with that. I was okay with that. It was scary, but I knew that I could not sentence myself and my son to a future that looked and resembled this. So I got a glimpse in a very real way at 7-Eleven, 11:42, of the life I wasn't willing to live and the future I wasn't willing to repeat. So all I kept looking for are new experiences that didn't repeat this, new experiences that didn't look like this. And the further away from what I knew I could get, and I wasn't physically away, I was still living in Inglewood. I was still driving down Martin Luther
Inglewood?
King Boulevard,
Yeah.
right? Inglewood and house. I'm still driving my same little Citation. I had a car that was so old, it didn't have two seats. It had the one seat. Remember them old cars? They had the
Yeah.
one seat.
We drove one
My
of them too.
grandmother,
Yeah, my
your grandmother had the
yeah.
car, and it was a hand-me-down. I was grateful for it. And I couldn't turn left. And when I turned left, it got stuck, and then it came unstuck, and then it was dangerous. Everything on my left side because the car would swerve. And I was okay with that. I was going to drive that bucket to my future.
Yeah.
If I needed to. I was okay with disrupting everything for the sake of something unfamiliar, an unfamiliar possibility. Now, I want to be clear. I wasn't running from my past. I bring it with me. That's how you know. You know about it in my books. You know about when I'm on stage. I'm okay. I own all Lisa, every single aspect of Lisa. 8 months after that moment, my son's father went to prison. And my son is 23, and my son's father is still in prison today. And I had the journey of pulling the blessing out of that, and understanding what was that about, and finding forgiveness in my heart, and not using that as a crutch, and so I had all these beautiful gifts that came wrapped in sandpaper. I had beautiful gifts that came wrapped in sandpaper, and some took me a month to understand, and some took me 10 years to get to the gift because the sandpaper was so thick. And so that's who I am.
This is just, there's certain things, I've heard some of your story before, obviously, but there's certain things that you just expressed that It's so interesting because I do the same exact thing. Oftentimes we think there's this moment when something magical happens, but it's a process. And you actually did the thing that I do, which is I've never heard anybody else do this. But I was diagnosed with this so-called incurable condition with my spine when I was 20 years old. And that was really my rock bottom. And, I proceeded to gain a lot of weight and dabble into depression and just really losing a sense of purpose because my identity was like, I'm going to complete school, I'm going to be
Right.
successful. And now I lost
Right.
everything,
Right.
even the ability to pay my own bills. And when I finally decided to get well, which is the key, and so many
Right.
people look
Right. Right.
past that,
Right.
it's
Right.
mostly like, I'll give this a try, we'll
Right.
see what happens. I
Right.
wish this would change.
Right.
But I really decided that no matter what, I'm going to get
You
well.
had certainty.
Exactly. And that happened instantly. But the process, and it's not like the clouds parted.
Right.
You did the,
Angels sang. Right. Right.
that's what I do when I'm telling my story.
Right.
And, unicorns didn't come out, none of
Right.
that.
Right.
But
Right.
the awakening process
Yes.
happened. And I just asked my wife recently, who's happens to be in the studio here today. So look, it's so good. I asked her when we first met, did I tell you my story? And she was like, no, you didn't. It was just kind of like, you told me pieces, like, this thing happened and, you started to do
Right.
this.
Right.
But the story was still unfolding. And it
Yes.
wasn't until I met her and then several years after when I actually saw, that's when the transformation took
Yeah.
place. So I love that you can, and also bring in the past with you. It's not
Yeah.
like you cut ties
Right.
and,
Right. Right.
it's
Right.
who you
I
are.
need that.
Yeah.
That's the soil that this grew from. Lisa grew from that soil.
Yeah, love that. One of the things that I'm also hearing in the story is something that we often do, which you made a decision to follow a path to find happiness and to find success.
Yes.
But so many of us postpone happiness,
Right.
right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. We wait for a moment in time. Something has to happen in order for us to be happy. And to me, happy isn't something that you go and find. You can't Google download happy. Happy
Yeah.
grows from you. Happy grows from a moment. And happiness isn't something you arrive at and it's a destination that you stay at. Happiness is something that you seek to evoke and emanate and grow and experience and touch as much as possible. And you're willing to leave it to revisit it. Happiness comes in freedom. See, whenever something is rigid and it has to stay, then you just left happiness because now you have to stay at happiness. Happiness is a place that you move in and out of. It expands and it contracts with you. Happiness is something you can measure. I always say, I'm as happy when I look at my child, I'm as happy as his saddest day sometimes because he's my heart outside of me. And then I detach from him. I let him define his happiness and I watch, but there's never a moment I'm not connected to my child. And so if he's going through a dark part, there's a part of me that is always with him, so, and happiness is not something that someone else can gift you. Happiness is not something your wife can give you. Happiness is something your wife can celebrate and elevate with you. Your children can celebrate and elevate with you. Happiness is something that you sit and you look at, you touch, you breathe. Happiness is something you take a step away from and you look over there and say, what makes me happy? I just spent 32 days in Barcelona. You had to wait
Yeah.
till I came back from Barcelona
Yeah.
to make this happen. And I went to Barcelona to put my life in 3 buckets. To put my life in, the first bucket was, this makes me really happy and I want to live like I choose it. You know how you can get to a place where things are coasting?
Yeah.
I don't
Yes.
want to coast. If I'm madly in love with the time that I spent with my grandmother, then I want to be madly in love with it when I see my grandma. So last night, before getting on the plane and coming to you, I was in the living room dancing with my grandmother. I put on some of her favorite songs. You would be surprised. My grandmother loves Tupac, India.Arie, and Alicia Keys. I don't understand it,
Hey,
but amen.
no judgment zone. Go ahead,
My
Grandma.
grandmother, she
Yeah.
was like, "Which one you gonna put on, baby?" I haven't heard Tupac in
I'm
a
a
while.
straight rider.
Right, exactly. So and I just danced with her in the living room because that just brings a sense of joy that's I can't explain. I can't explain what dancing with my grandmother does for me. And the second bucket, so the first bucket is to choose what I want in my life, what I love in my life, and then to re-choose it powerfully and to let it be seen in evidence of how I show up with it, that I chose it and I choose it versus just coasting. The second bucket that I put my life in Barcelona was I choose this, but it needs modification. It needs modification. I love it, but it needs modification because I'm tolerating some things in this experience. that I would be happier if I didn't tolerate. But I want it. I just need modifications. I need some things to shift. I need some experiences in this experience to shift. And then the third bucket was I choose to release it, that our time is complete. The experience of living in overwhelm, the experience of saying yes when I want to say no, the experience of wanting to be liked and loved by everybody, the experience of opening my doors to everyone who knocks on the door and says I need to come in, the owning my no so that my yes can become more valuable, the experience of some people in my life, that our season is complete. Like I put my entire life in 3 areas. I choose you, and I want to live like I chose you. I choose you, but I need to adjust this experience so it can feel better for the both of us, at least for me. I don't know how you're doing it, but I need it to feel better. And then I choose to release this behaviors, thoughts, actions, and people. So I spent 32 days in Barcelona having that experience so that I can keep revisiting happy and stay in and live, and not expecting happiness to always be there as prevalent as those moments when I'm dancing with my grandmother.
Right.
And to allow it to be fluid and flexible in my life, and to allow happiness to move away from me at times so I can honor it and own it more.
Yeah.
And not to expect and assume.
It makes so much sense. I think that it's kind of ingrained in our culture because of movies and things like that. We have these very romantic ideas of,
Oh,
for
yeah.
example, like the Jerry Maguire, "You complete me."
Yes, yes,
When we
yes.
have 2 incomplete people getting together,
Right.
it's going to be some serious
Right,
drama.
right, right, right.
And not even putting that on another
Right,
person, and
right,
understanding
right,
that we're responsible for our own
right,
happiness.
right.
And I
That we
love,
won't find perfection. You said
yeah,
it earlier. I
exactly.
loved
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
We won't ever find perfection. And it's a false hope that always leaves you lacking something. But if you can find and discover how to perfectly work with your imperfection. And what I've done, in some days better than most, and other days not, is I've learned how to dance inside my imperfection.
I like that.
And so
I
I
like
love
that.
when you opened with that. I loved it. I was like, yeah, because then it allows us to be more gracious with ourselves.
Yeah. I love those 3 buckets. It reminded me of the Bozo show. Do you remember that? It was
Yes.
like the little game at the end. I was like, I'm gonna get on there one day. It
And
was
I'm
like
gonna get
5.
the ball in the bucket,
Yeah,
right?
and then the show, of course, was canceled shortly thereafter. But thinking of those 3 buckets, we've been talking a lot, and I've brought on some of the top people in the world just on exercising your no muscle, right?
Yes,
So we talked with James Altucher, who wrote
yes,
the book The Power of No instead of The
yes,
Power of Now, and also Michael Hyatt, and talking about having those standards. Because the reality is, I think one of our big issues is that we think we have more time than we do, and to really take advantage of our life and this human experience, and to have our standards, for
yes,
what we're willing to take on, for what we're willing to accept, and for where we're headed. And it's not that we don't love those situations, those people, the environment. It's still gratitude there, but you can't take everybody with you as well, and
right,
everybody doesn't want to come.
right,
And I
right,
used to have this kind of mentality of like, we're not leaving till everybody's on the
right. I'm
bus,
gonna help
right?
everybody. I'm gonna help you help yourself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality is when you look at why we do what we do. Like I love the study of the human mind. I love the study of behavior, right? And when we say yes, when we want to say no, when our ego flexes, it comes from 4 areas is what I've reduced, and when you realize that these 4 areas are false, and they're just false illusions that you made real, then you operate differently. So whenever my students step on my campus, I say, listen, it's gonna take you years to get to here, but let's talk about where we want to get to. I want to get to a place where you have nothing to prove, you have nothing to protect, you have nothing to hide, and you have nothing to defend. Now, each one of those are big because we live in proving that we're smart enough, proving that we're good enough. Women, we want to prove that we're equal to men. Blacks want to prove that we're just as smart as that white guy. I mean, it goes across cultural lines, it goes across geographical lines, it goes across economic lines. We live in proving. But if you can begin and just start now, I don't know when you'll get there, but start now living like you have nothing to prove. There's an elevated sense of freedom. Then, if you can live like you have nothing to hide, like there are no secrets. There are no skeletons in my closet because I opened the closet door. And I dragged them all out and I brought them with me because when you get me, you get that. And I'm whole and complete with who I am. Like I've fallen in love with the darkest part of myself. And when you can fall in love with the darkest part of yourself, your insecurities, your need to be loved, your need to be approved, your need to be embraced, your lack of clarity, your dyslexia, if you can fall in love with the darkest part of yourself and bring him or her with you into every experience, not wearing it, not putting it out in front of you, but just by the way, I went on a
Yeah.
date once, and the first part of the day, I said, "So let me tell you all the stuff I don't want you to find out about me, so I can not try to hide all that."
Yeah.
Right? And then then he fell in love. Then I had to figure that out because I wasn't in love. So, but if you
Yeah.
can bring that with you,
Yeah.
so there's nothing to hide. The third is there's nothing to protect. There's nothing to protect. There's no image to protect. Now that my brand is, a global brand, there's always this conversation of brand management. And I go, let me always be a part of that conversation with my PR rep, with my manager. Let me be a part because my version of brand protection and your idea of brand protection might be different. And I'm committed to helping you see what's important to me because brand protection is not about hiding. Brand protection is not about defending. Brand protection is about standing in my authentic truth at all times. So I have some health things. I hope we'll talk about that. I've had some
Yeah.
health transition, and that was a big deal conversation in my camp. Like, how are you going to tell people and what's going to happen? And I was like, hold on. The truth is sexy. The
Yes.
truth is so sexy. Oh my God. I'm so attracted to someone who says, so listen, here are my issues. Now, if you can work with that, we're cool. Like,
Yeah.
like if you want, like, don't try to hide them. Just tell me what we're working with. And so nothing to prove, nothing to protect, nothing to hide, and nothing to defend. There's nothing to
Ooh, this
defend.
sounds like a tough one.
It is.
Yeah.
Because our natural ego wants to defend. Our ego will rise up and say, I got this. And it's your humanity and your humility and your servant leadership that will say, hold on, I'll take care of this.
Yeah.
And when you can apologize and fall on the sword on behalf of your brother or your sister, when you can love the perceivingly unlovable, when you can love the perceivingly unlovable, and you can forgive the perceivingly unforgivable, that society will give you permission to not forgive, you forgive it anyway. That society will tell you, you don't have to love that, you love it anyway. And you don't just love and forgive, you love and forgive out loud. That's when you have an elevated sense of freedom. And that's when you become a change agent. And your life has a timeline, but your legacy doesn't.
Oh, I love that. Infinite. What I want to do is help people to get to that place where they can employ these insights a little more readily. So I'm going to talk about that and also your transformation too. I want to talk
Oh,
about that as well. And we're going to do that right after this quick break. So sit tight and we'll be right back. All right, we are back, and I am talking with the one and only Lisa Nichols. And we were just going through some of her incredible insights on how to really make some changes to our inner game, to really enjoy our life more, to really experience more success and happiness and health. And I feel that a big part of our struggles to have happiness, to find success that we all really desire, has to do with our lack of a sense of value, and I feel that we continuously undervalue ourselves, downgrade and degrade ourselves because we don't understand our inherent value. And I would love if you could share any insights that you have on how do we actually start to understand our value, because I think that it's something that it's an epidemic right now and people
right.
don't really understand how much they matter.
Right. Well, I believe that in this climate, and I think it happened before, it existed before 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 50 years ago, but now more than ever, we listen to the noise that my grandmother says, other people's perception of you ain't none of your business. That who you woke up as this morning has to be enough, irregardless of the activities of the day. And so if you look at who do I see myself before anything else happens, am I whole and complete inside of my imperfection? Especially with social media, you
Yeah.
you look for the likes.
Yeah.
I was just saying in the message I was delivering the other day in church that my job, your job, is to get up and like you. And every other like on Facebook is bonus. But you
Yeah.
liked you first.
Yeah.
And I think the journey to liking you, the journey to getting to that place, that's where everyone's seeking. That's what people seek when they step on my campus. That's what people seek. And ideally, we watch people get to that point when they've studied with us for a while. And what that looks like is, if you want to know, in my opinion, the first thing to do is to become whole and complete with every decision you've ever made, because we're holding ourselves hostage to our past decisions, actions, behaviors, the things we did that we felt we shouldn't do, and the things that we felt we should have taken a leap on that we didn't take a leap on. So one, become whole and complete with all of your past decisions, because when you know more, you do more. And you made all your decisions based on what you knew at the time. And you can't measure the man or woman you are based on the decision you made back then, based on what you know now. You didn't know then what you know now. If I knew then at 29 what I know now at 51, excitedly my 51, I wouldn't have made those decisions. But I knew what I knew. And so I did what I did based on what I knew. So one, become whole and complete with with all your decisions. Two, recognize that forgiveness is not about pardoning anyone else in your life. Decision is about opening up more internal real estate for love and possibility in yourself. So I think forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. So if you ask me the two things, one is to become whole and complete with your decisions and your actions from 20 years ago. Become whole and complete with those because you knew what you knew. That's why you did what you did. And two, recognize that forgiveness is not about pardoning a behavior. It's not about giving. It's not about giving acceptance to what occurred. It's about opening up more real estate in your body, in your heart, and in your soul for what's possible in the future, because two things can't occupy the same space. So where there's hate, anger, shame, blame, there cannot be love and possibility. Those two things, if you just focus on those two things, yeah, I can give you a list of 12 things, but those two can keep you busy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
laser
Yes.
focus. We often operate like a floodlight, trying to cover a whole lot of ground when we should operate like a laser. Let me penetrate this. Let me master this. Let me heal this. Let me go back. When I decided to forgive my son's father, that's all I worked on for a year. That's every exercise I did was about him, because I didn't want to keep touching it for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Now I have a beautiful relationship with him. I spotlighted him at my conference. He calls me on the phone. I tell him, call me from prison. He calls me on the phone. I
Oh
put
my
him on the mic
goodness.
system. I spotlight him. He's written 14 books in prison. Like, now I use him as the model example for get it done no matter where you are.
Yeah.
Because I did the work. I forgave myself. I was in an abusive relationship where my fiance at the time picked me up and threw me 3 feet across the room. And then he choked me until I passed out. 13 years later, I ran into him at a conference. I couldn't go to his state. I was so afraid that I would
Yeah.
run into him. And he's 6'9", 310 pounds. He was huge. So he was physically
Imposing.
imposing, as well as physically imposing in my life. And I did the work on him. I did the work on him for 9 straight years. 9 straight years. So when I ran into him, he came to my conference, so it was very intentional. He came to ask for my forgiveness. And I said, I needed to give myself life. So I forgave you a long time ago for me. So you just need to forgive you, because I already did the work. I had no angst or energy or anger around him. I felt a little uncomfortable, but there was no residual anger, because I had to fall madly in love with Lisa. The woman you see sitting here is simply the result of saying, what does it look like to fall madly in love with me? And not in a bragging way, not in a way that spews onto other people, but in a way that I say every day I'm going to give myself a chance. Every day I get to press reset. I get to press reset 1,000 times. And when I get to 999, I get to press reset on the reset button. And what happens if I did that? And so you're right. Valuing who I show up to be means pardoning myself from all my choices that I've been judging and I've had shame around. And then it also means forgiving myself and others for the times in which their actions didn't align with their heart. I think it's those two things, accepting and forgiving. And those have been the two biggest things in my life.
When I asked you that question, I had no idea you were going to bring up forgiveness, but it makes complete sense, and you just broke it down. Why? I love the quote from Nelson Mandela when he says that carrying resentment is like drinking poison and
Expecting
expecting it to kill
something,
your
right?
enemies, you
Exactly.
know? And so often we don't really, because you don't know what you don't know, you're not
Yes.
paying attention to it.
Yes.
We're carrying around this toxicity because we're
Yes.
carrying around hatred, resentment.
Yes.
Why me? Why'd they do this to me?
Shame,
And it's
blame,
not that it's
anger.
not real. It's not that it
Yes.
didn't happen,
Yes.
but we need to free
Right.
ourselves,
Right.
you know? And
Energy goes where energy grows where energy goes. And if you give that energy, that just grows.
yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up. And please, everybody listening, make sure to take heed. And she said it also, this is a practice. You know, sometimes forgiveness can happen in a smaller time period, but sometimes it really does take a
Yes.
practice and
Yes.
keep continuing to bring it back up and working on it. And I'm so glad you brought that up as well. Now, you also, when you were talking, you said 51 years old. I about choked on my swallow because I can't believe, you know, that
Absolutely.
you look so good.
Thank you.
Now, and I think it was maybe somewhere around 10 years ago, I first saw you in The Secret, in the
Yes.
movie
It
The
was about
Secret.
10 years ago.
My mother-in-law gave us the movie, and I remember
You
seeing
have
you
a
on
good
that.
mother-in-law.
Yeah, she
Yeah.
is. She's the best. She's the best. And so you've had a physical
I
transformation
have.
as well.
I
And
have.
I know that, you know, you mentioned it earlier that even changing what's going on with your company in response to that transformation. So I
Yeah.
love to hear, like, what was the catalyst for you
Yeah.
to make this transformation real?
It was, it's not a beautiful story. It's not a, I decided one day I needed to change. It's not beautiful. And I got to tell you that this is the largest platform that I would share this in thus far. I know that I'm being called to share the story because I think that I will have a part in leading, particularly women who are dealing with obesity, to move away from that space. I believe I'm not choosing that. I'm gonna be very clear, but I am obedient.
Yeah.
And so it just keeps coming up more and
Hmm.
more and more. I find myself here on your show and,
Okay.
and on other shows. And yesterday and the day before, I was in Hollywood meeting with television producers and executives. And, the question is, am I willing? Am I willing to share the story? Am I willing to go to this place? My transformation came out of a severe sense of medical need. What most people don't know about me is while I was making the 7 bestsellers, either as a contributing author, as a solo author, during that exact same time from 2000 to 2015, I was dealing with private medical hell. And, medical diagnoses and medical challenges are not something that will find their way to the stage or to your books or to your conversation effortlessly because they're so private. And I don't ever talk about a battle that I'm still fighting. I
Interesting.
don't
Yeah.
discuss battles that I'm still fighting. I get to the other side and find out what was the lesson I was supposed to learn, what was the defeat that I had, or what was the victory I created, and how did I get into that battle, and how did I get out? Now let's talk about it. So I'm not one to, because I don't have a 360 view on it yet. I'm still in it, so I'm skewed. I'm skewed. And I was in this battle, so I didn't talk about it much. But I, um, I had a hormonal imbalance that caused me to have a cycle, a menstrual cycle for 28 days
Hmm.
out of
Yeah.
the month, which caused me to have 6 blood transfusions in 3 years, which caused me to always have a low blood count, which caused me to have a very slow metabolism, which caused me to not burn fat. And then I gained weight, and then I had sleep apnea, and my sleep apnea turned into a severe case of sleep apnea, where the average person with a very strong case of sleep apnea wakes up 30 times an hour. That's a very extreme case. I woke up 62 times an hour. And so I traveled all around the world while I'm doing Chicken Soup for the Soul, Chicken
Right.
Soup for the African American Woman. So Secret, I'm traveling with a CPAP
Yeah.
and machine and continuously gaining weight. Very athletic, very working out, eating clean, and just you know, couldn't couldn't kick my metabolism in gear. And then after a while, I didn't have the energy to work out. I had no energy to work out. I didn't know that I hadn't gotten a good night of sleep
Yeah.
in over
Yeah.
10 years. I didn't even know. And you can be inside of a, yeah, you can be inside of a hell and not even know you're there because it's your norm.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I didn't know. I didn't know that I was sleep deprived. I didn't know that I was a danger to having a heart attack. I didn't know that there was no way I was ever going to kick anything in gear because there was too many factors medically. And, add to it your ego, or
Yeah,
ladies, my she-go,
yeah.
that I didn't want to think about a medical challenge because I come from an athletic background.
Yeah.
Like I'm a gladiator. I go
Hmm.
hard and I go long. I swam competition for 9 years. I did synchronized swimming for 7 years. I was a state champion for 3 years. I was in like all this stuff. I just kept feeding myself all this stuff to keep me stuck.
Yeah.
It was just keeping me stuck. And then one day, after taking a series of tests, I took every test, blood tests,
Hormone
iridologist,
panels.
hormone balances. I did everything. I just did the entire, because I felt, this is going to sound weird, but maybe not to you. I felt a form of life leaving me.
Yeah.
And it probably was just exhaustion all the time, but I felt like I was never, I would want to do this. I would
Yeah.
try to get my head above a water that wasn't there, but I didn't understand. I couldn't get a deep breath. I couldn't understand. I could sleep for 10 hours and wake up exhausted, and wait, I just couldn't understand it. I can do the CPAP machine, and I couldn't understand it. I just couldn't get around it. But I was grinding hard. I was making
Yeah.
bestsellers. I was on the stage with Jack Canfield and Tony Robbins and Les Brown, but I couldn't get this thing. I just couldn't figure it out. And so I took all these tests, and I knew it was serious when my doctor told my assistant, Margaret, whom you've met, sit her down, put her in front of a Skype. I need an hour. I just got off stage in Utah, speaking in front of about 11,500 people, 13 different countries, 13 different languages. So all this energy, like, roar, just energy. Signing about 375 books for hours, just
Hmm.
signing and smiling and posing and signing, just energy, right? And then I go into this presidential suite, sit down at this table, turn on the Skype, and literally my life is in front of me. And she had Margaret print out this packet so I could see, because people like me need evidence. People like you need evidence. I
Yeah.
need facts, right? And she walked me through this 42-page report. And in summary, she said, "You're no longer obese. You're morbidly obese." I carried it, and you can look at all my pictures. I carry it very well. I'm proportioned well, and I'm
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
So that can be elusive, and that
Hmm.
could be misleading. And I'm wildly successful with all this weight. So that could be
Yeah.
misleading. So everything that was my advantage, everything was the reason why I could go, go, go. Everything that was my pride and joy was now my enemy. She said, it's not a matter of, she says, you have severe sleep apnea. You're over 210 pounds. You don't have enough blood in your body. You travel over 280 days out the year. And your day at work is not sitting quietly producing something. Your day at work is lifting everybody else. She said, I'm going to tell you something and I wouldn't tell anybody else. And I'm going to tell you this because I saw you speak. I'm going to tell you this because I sat in your audience. I'm going to tell you this because I read your books and I need you to get it. She said, it's not a matter of if you will have a heart attack. It's a question of where will you be? She said, will you be on stage?
Hmm.
Will you be in a hotel room by yourself? Will you be 30,000 feet in the air? Or will you be with your child? She said, let me take away any wonder. If you don't do anything, we will all lose you. And for 2 years, because I'm stubborn and I got a big ego, for 2 years I tried to unknow what she taught me.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
2 years I tried to act like she don't know what she's talking about. And then it hit me in November of 2015 how selfish I was being. How selfish I was being at the chance that I would take this message that God brought through me away from people. I would take myself away from my son because of something as small as my ego. How selfish was I? And then I was embarrassed at myself. So I ran to the doctor. Like, I ignored for 2 years. And then I ran to the doctor with this apologetic energy, like, I'm late. I was told this 2 years ago. I need help. She said, the doctor said, I'm going to recommend something I don't recommend. You need a boost. You need a medical boost. So you need medical help to get the boost. You're not going to lose the weight by yourself because you don't have enough sleep. You need more sleep to get the energy. You need more weight loss to lose the sleep apnea. It's just this cyclical cycle that unfortunately you fell in, and you need help. So I went to a doctor that did gastric bypass, and I said, here's my sleep apnea report. I'm not sure if I qualify because I was right on the borderline. And he said, Miss Nichols, it normally takes us 6 months to approve someone because you got to be psychological, you got a nutritionist. He said, we will get you in 32 days because you are a walking heart attack waiting to happen. And we need to start the weight loss so that we can we can just balance you out. And I know there's 100 different ways you want to do it. And I cried every day up for 32 days until I got on that table because my ego didn't want to do it. And I felt like there was another way and I just don't know about it. And then every day I thought I was on borrowed time. I was on borrowed time. Yeah. And so my weight loss started with that surgery. And then I jumped in immediately as soon as I could and got responsible. Eating was not a challenge. For years, I've eaten clean. That was not a challenge, but I got into the exercise. I got into the movement, which was not a challenge because I've always lived very physical. And then I dealt with a year and a half of shame behind having the surgery. I mean, severe shame.
Yeah.
Now, I'm telling you, 2015, December 16th, 2015 to May 3rd, 2016. So, that was like yesterday.
Yeah.
I dealt with severe shame. I felt like I cheated, because ego.
Yeah.
Ego said there's only one way. I was meeting with a very well-known television network that we all know 2 days ago, and they asked me about my transformation, and I shared with them a little bit of what I'm sharing with you, and it was easier because it was just 3 people in the room.
Yeah.
And she said, "What did you feel?" She was trying to find the sensationalism of a story,
Right.
And what I don't do is I don't do entertainment. I don't do empty entertainment. I'm a transformational person. There's enough entertainment in our real drama. And so I can tell she was trying to find the sizzle. And I said, she goes, "So did you feel like you were fake when you would go on stage?" I said, "Absolutely not. That I stand by everything I've ever said. That simply was my private hell. And I didn't have to share that. That's my private life. And because I'm a public servant and teacher, does not mean that I don't get to have my private experiences. And I don't talk about a darkness. I don't talk about a battle that I'm in the middle of, because as a shepherd, and this is my role, everyone has their role, but as a shepherd of transformation and healing, I would be irresponsible to still be in my hurt and pain and bring you there with me and not know how we gonna get out. Yeah. And I needed to go through it and be able to turn around and look at it, just to sit here with you and have this conversation from the other side, to go, here's what happened. Here's how I got there. I couldn't tell you my ego got me there when I was still there. I was justifying my ego. Right. My ego had good reason. My ego looked like my purpose, and my ego was sexy. It was protecting me. It was defending me. It was keeping the camouflage on. So I wouldn't have been any service to anyone. I would help more people stay in their hell had I talked about it while I was still in it. And so I had to get to the other side. And then for the year after, I dealt with the shame. And it literally had been so long since I had shame live with me. I passed through shameful moments, and then I check out. Hold on, wait a minute. I do my work because I know the work to do to release shame, guilt, anger, resentment. I know the work. I teach the work. I live the work. I'm a student of the work. And I wake up and this shame will be with me. And I go, you here again? I'd be on stage and this shame would be with me. And I go, what is this? And everyone on Facebook was talking about my body. So here I was in this personal, private health hell that no one knew about and no one had to know about, making bestsellers and transforming lives and touching millions of people, doing it with me. And then I go through this transformation, very difficult to go through. And all of a sudden, the very thing that's the most private part of my life is the most public and talked about thing without me discussing it.
Right.
So if you go back and look a year on Facebook, I never talked about my health. Everyone's like, oh my God, you look amazing. And every time someone say, what you do? I go, no, because I wasn't at peace yet with my journey. And then because I'm so athletic and muscle has a memory, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't do any skin grafting. My stomach is completely flat. My arms, I got a little cut here and there, and so now it just elevated the conversation, right? Oh my God, it's the gun show. I do the Lisa Nichols show on YouTube. It's the gun show. It's not the Lisa Nichols show. I'm like, oh my God, come on, guys. And so I had to make a decision. Do you live with the shame? Or do you make the most private part of your life public? Like I told no lies, so I didn't have anything to clean up. But do you make the most private part of your life? And I knew that I couldn't make a portion of it public. I had to tell you how I got to the surgery table. Because you said it in your intro. You said, what'd you say about it's an intern?
Yeah, working in and not just working out.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's such a beautiful statement. Oh my God, that's so beautiful. And if I am not the poster child of like, it was like in, out, in, out, in. I had to let them dance together. And then I had to take them public.
Yeah. I'm so grateful because I didn't know
You
this
didn't know.
story, and and the fact that you're sharing it here with us, I know that
With knees knocking, by the way, with knees knocking and teeth chattering.
so many people listening are going to be able to identify with this. And it's really, you said it earlier, like it would be selfish of you to not share. It would be selfish of you to not do something to make sure that you're still here and sharing your gift. And I want to unpack a couple of things for people because, again, people listening, there are people in similar situations. I get these messages every day,
Right.
and not understanding that you can overeat your way fat, you can under move your way fat, you can overstress your way fat, and you can undersleep your way fat as well. And this is the big gap, and why I decided to put so much time and energy into getting this message out, because it's that missing component. I'm a nutritionist, so what is it? And I was like, food is everything forever, but it just wasn't. And seeing the stories and having people coming into my office, and it wasn't until it took about 5 years for me to actually look at the people who weren't getting the results everybody else was getting. What's
What's
going
the common
on?
denominator?
What's going on with their sleep? And it blew my mind. And seeing so many times what you mentioned earlier, this vicious cycle that takes place because you need to sleep in order to lose weight. You need to lose weight in order to sleep.
Yes.
So how are we going to address this? And there are
Right.
ways to stack conditions
Right.
in your favor. Sometimes, and this is part of the Model Health Show, is that you have to understand everything is an option.
Right.
A Twinkie is an option.
Right.
If it's
You're
a zombie
choosing.
apocalypse
Right.
and you come into a 7-Eleven
Right.
and you need something to eat, Twinkie is going to last for a little while. However, we want to...
Matter of fact, they never go away because they're artificial. They won't
Exactly.
ever.
The Twinkie will outlive you.
Right.
It'll be
right,
Twinkies and
right,
roaches left.
Right.
But the fact is that, we need to steer on the side of what our genes expect us to do
Right.
to start with. But sometimes we find ourselves in a complicated spot where we might need this or that. Maybe it's an antibiotic treatment. When we talk about the dangers of antibiotics here on the show.
Right.
But sometimes in
Right.
a spot instance, we just don't want to live reliant on that.
Right.
And so once we get to that place,
Jumpstart.
exactly,
Jumpstart.
and that was the word
That's
that
what
you
I-
used,
yeah.
And so for you to regain that fitness and that
Yes.
athletic
Yes.
identity that
Yes.
you were carrying, which is so powerful, it's really a remarkable story. And at this point,
Thank you for saying that. I want to pause you to thank you for saying that, because I've worked through the first four layers of shame, and it's a progress. But I'm grateful when I hear nutritionalists and fitness experts align with, you may need a jump start. In my bag, in my travel bag, stays my protein bars and my protein powder. And the life I live today is the life that I'm supposed to live. And the me that I am today is the woman that's been waiting to come out for 15 years. And I needed a particular path to help jumpstart that, and then to become responsible for my emotional being, my financial lifestyle, and my physical awareness. So thank you for that, because I'm strong and I'm emotionally healthy. And if I struggle with it like that,
Yeah,
then
exactly.
what are
Yeah.
my sisters and what are my brothers doing who may not be in the work like this?
Yeah.
So I just want to thank you and hold the space for those of you who are listening, who are walking into this. I always say, where there's evidence, there's truth.
Yeah.
And let there be evidence that there are multiple ways to get to where you need to get to. And if you are willing to do something you've never done before, you'll get something you've always wanted to get.
Yeah.
And that's what I was willing. That's what I had to do.
I'd love to talk now about what are you doing now? Because again, you're 51 and you
Yes.
look so, I mean, I was like, she maybe, late 30s maybe.
Hey, man. Thanks.
But just mentioned, and you travel obviously a tremendous amount.
Yes.
That even the average traveler, this is like times 10.
Yes.
And you mentioned, carrying along your protein bars, your protein
Yeah.
powder. So what are some of the things that
I
you're
do.
doing
Yeah.
now?
I bring my lifestyle with me. Like I don't. There is no excuse. There's no excuse for me to be healthy and to choose healthy. I bring my lifestyle with me as much as I can. Um, I, I learned a while ago that as long as I got my body weight, I got weights, because
Yeah,
I would go to
that's
a
right.
conference in a hotel room, in a hotel, and I'd go to the gym. And everyone at the conference would be in the gym. And so I'd spend all my
Yeah,
time in
I've
the
seen
gym
that
taking
before.
pictures on treadmills with my
I've
headscarf
done
on,
that before,
because
yeah.
I don't go to the gym looking hot. I
Yeah.
go to the gym ready to get my workout
And
on,
then you on Instagram looking like,
looking like a hot mess. Like, and everyone's,
did she just
and
jack a car?
they're posting before I get out the gym. So, I stopped going to the gym
Yeah.
in hotels because I just couldn't go to the gym. And so I learned that my body weight is enough weight.
Yeah.
So my arms exist from push-ups. Like I can always do a push-up. I can always do a plank. I can. So several things, and please write this down, because last year, if you're listening, last year I traveled 310 days out the year. On average, I'm in 8 to 13 different countries and over the course of a year. I just got back from Barcelona. Before that, it was Budapest. And before that, it was Ireland, all before May. And before the end of the year, I'll do Barcelona again. I'll do London. I'll do South Africa. So my excuses for not working out consistently are sexy.
Yeah.
Like, they're like
Yeah.
the kind of excuses even the
Right.
trainers will go, okay,
Right.
right, well, dang, I can't beat that, right? So
Yeah.
I have to be really aware that I have to bring my lifestyle with me. So number one, I am never without nutrition. I'm never without protein. I'm never stuck to where I have to get that whatever.
Right. Krispy Kreme.
Yeah, right. It's not
Or
even an option. It's not even. When I saw people standing in line for Krispy Kreme at 5 in the morning, I decided I'm never gonna go, because I might love that donut.
Yeah.
So I stay away from things that don't speak life into my body. I don't dibble and dabble a little bit, because I have an extremist behavior. So number one, I have to know me. I
yes.
don't
Know
ever do
yourself.
a teaspoon of anything. I'm gonna give me a big gulp
Yeah.
of whatever. So I got a big gulp right things. Right. I spend my time and my energy in things that's gonna feed my future. So I believe that my body and my mindset and how I feed is being responsible to my future. I have a large, large calling on my life. I have a big purpose, and it's my job to take care of the temple that's going to live out my purpose. So my body's not just my body holding up my head like it used to be. My body is the instrument living out my life's purpose. So I think the first thing is to understand the life's purpose. Understand, and you don't have to understand it in its wholeness, because by the way, it's going to change. So my purpose 20 years ago is different than my purpose now. It's revealing itself to me in different forms. And in 20 years, I'm gonna be doing something different than I'm doing now. And I even have a glimpse of that. So allowing it to unfold in seasons, right? and then to be responsible to take care of the instrument that's going to get you to your life's purpose. And so I carry my life with me. I'm comfortable in my no. I'm okay with being radical. I'm okay with making bold, outrageous requests of me and people around me and the universe
Yeah.
on behalf of me being able to live out my life's purpose. Because a part of it's understanding, and I say this and not in an ego way, or ladies in a she-go way, that to understand my contribution is so necessary that I have to be willing to be a stand for myself. Oh, it took me years to get to. I got to be willing to not only celebrate my yes, but own my no.
Yeah.
To not only dance hard in the middle of the day, but also require that I get my sleep. To not only be willing to be radical inside of service, but also know when I need to refuel my tank, because I don't do you any good serving you from a half empty cup. I don't even want my cup half full when I serve you. I didn't come here. I didn't fly into you on a half empty cup. I came to you in my overflow. I'm serving you right now from my saucer. Like, that's your responsibility. And so when you look at it that way, that my body is the instrument living out my life's purpose, it's not just about not having love handles. It's not just about having great quads and great abs and great legs or looking 30. Like, looking like I'm 35, 39, or 40, that's a benefit. But the true gift is that I can go hard for the next 25 years. That you gonna sit down, I'm gonna tell you to get up. Like, that's my intention. Is to go, come on, Shawn, we still got something to do. Like, I
love it.
because the purpose is so big. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when you
You're fueling your purpose.
when you attach yourself to something bigger than you, the Twinkie is interrupting the purpose. The Krispy Kreme is interrupting the divine assignment on your life. See, I don't choose things that's not going to serve my body, not because because I'm going to be honest, I'm not like you. I don't miss the gym when I'm not in it. Is that how he is? His body, he feels a little off if he don't get, that's not me. I don't miss the gym. I miss being able to live out my life's purpose.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the path of that, I'll start missing the gym. Like I have friends that go, if I'm not in the gym in 3 days, it feels weird. I'm like, I'm waiting to get there. I'm not there yet, but I'm working out because my body has to keep up with the divine assignment on my life as the divine assignment unfolds itself to me. So I don't see the whole thing. I don't see the whole thing. People are like, oh, you see the, no. I just see the next 2 feet. I see the next 200 feet. I don't know what's 2,000. You couldn't have told me 20 years ago I'd be one of the featured teachers in The Secret. You couldn't have told me 15 years ago that I'd have 7 bestsellers. You couldn't have told me that. I would have reminded you that I got to fail in English. You couldn't have told me 10 years ago that I would be one of the most recognized speakers internationally in Slovenia, in Kazakhstan, in Kiev. I didn't know what those places were because I failed geography. You couldn't have told me, right?
Yeah.
And so your assignment is unfolding itself. Your contribution to the planet is unfolding itself in seasons as you can digest it. Because the universe knows, God, whatever you want to call it, knows you can't even handle knowing everything that you're going to do. But here's what I do know. I need to be ready. This body, this temple needs to be ready to do it. So I know my life is not a race. It's a marathon. So when you think like that, the desire to do the stuff begins to fall away because I'm constantly attaching myself to something greater. But the same thing is emotionally. I also don't attract drama. No one brings drama to me ever. When they whisper about people, I'm like, she don't want to hear. She working on something. So it's holistic. It's food, it's behavior, and it's habits, and it's mindset. So my cousins, when we're at a barbecue and they're doing that, they're talking about stuff, and I come like, what y'all talking about? I'm like, girl, you don't want to hear about it. No, I want to hear about it. No, really. You don't want to hear about it because you ain't got time for that. You're doing big stuff. Oh yeah, you're right. If it's small, you're right. I don't. Matter of fact, on my TV, my goddaughter was in my house for a while, and she was looking at crazy stuff. I said, that energy can't be in my house, babe. Because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing next in my house. That's distracting me. So it's mindset too. It's so I do I do a number of different things, but I really keep my mind in a place that's gonna require me.
Working in. You got it.
Require me. Yeah. And then, I'm dating, right? I'm single. So well, he don't think I'm single. I'm still deciding if I'm making a decision, right? I'm indecisive. So anyway, I'm not married. So on my dates, I shifted as I was dating to go, so here are the things. They say, what do you love to do on the phone? You get to know somebody. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
That
Oh my
process.
God. Right. And for a long time I wasn't dateable. So I was okay. I chose single because everything in me was birthing a man child and raising a man child and birthing a purpose and raising a business. And I didn't have anything else left. So I consciously chose, let me get these two things out. My son is now 23, graduate of Le Cordon Bleu Culinary Institute. And my business has its legs. Now I go, okay, now I'm ready for that. Because I want to put all in when I put in. So, but now inside my dates, there's a parameter of how I date. I date hiking, I date skating, I date biking. So I date walking on the beach. I have all the ways that I date. And when people say, oh, that's really not interesting me. Great, this was quick and easy.
Right,
This was quick
right.
and easy. It's not a
Thank you.
fit. Right, because I date active, because I live active, because that's who I am. That's who I choose. So I set my lifestyle up to be in alignment with my intention on
Yeah.
every level.
You
I
know,
put a gym in my office. Drove my
mm,
CFO crazy. He was like, we need the space. Find it somewhere else. That's going to be a full-fledged gym. Full-fledged gym. Now we have motivational workout Mondays in my office. I'm not there. And you can they will Facebook Live it every Monday. Full on workout for 45 minutes in my office, everywhere from everybody from my CFO to my COO to my assistant, working on they don't have to, but you choose. I'm gonna create the environment for you to live. I'm gonna pay for your health benefits, but I'm also gonna pay to help you get healthy.
yes,
So I
yes.
just designed my lifestyle around it.
What you did, obviously, with changing yourself, you changed the culture
Yes.
around you, and it begins to just trickle down. And that's
Yes.
so amazing to hear this. And also, some people are gonna be like, "Well, I can't do that." There are pieces you shared on multiple different areas that people can do. You have a body, and so just becoming more physically literate is what I call it. Understanding you don't need a gym. You've got that amazing body, and you can find various ways to use that. And of course, we've talked about that multiple times on the show. But as you can, think about how can you integrate more health and fitness
Yes.
into your life so it's just a part of the
Yes.
environment.
It's my life. It's not I used to think of it as the extra.
Yeah,
This is
right.
my life. This is just my life is living in this body. This is the machine. This is the machine and the temple that I was given. I was blessed with an operational system that's asking me to invest in it so that I can live out my divine life purpose. That like if I just look at it like that, there's an obligation. You got to pull me hard. So I'm not like I don't do taps like this well. Like I won't even feel it. I'm like what? Like you got to stop me. Like I freight train me. Like that's just how I learn. But once I get it, you ain't got to worry about it. I'm gonna live like I know. The worst thing you can do is know something and live like you don't know it. That's robbery. Right? All right, that's some
Yeah,
deep stuff, right?
yeah.
See, you get off if you
There's a
don't know
term
it.
for that.
Right?
That's
You get off if you don't know it. I didn't know it.
yeah,
Okay. But when you know it and you live like you don't know it, you have to keep relearning it.
yeah.
Because the universe trying to tell you, you know this. So let me give it to you again. That's how we end up saying, how did I end up here again?
Right,
The answer
exactly.
is you living like you didn't know it. You
Yeah,
living like you didn't learn it. So I got to keep giving you this financial breakdown. I got to keep giving you this relationship breakdown until you live like you know it. I got to keep giving you this physical breakdown until you live like you know it. And so I like to believe I'm a good teacher, but I am a phenomenal student. I'm a
yes, yeah,
better
yeah,
student
yeah.
than I'm a teacher all day long. I go, okay, universe. When I was on Oprah, I said, I always ask God, what lesson am I supposed to learn in this situation? And she goes, I asked the same thing. And I was like, well, I know I'm asking the right question then.
There you go.
What
Right,
lesson
check.
am I to learn? And then live like I got the lesson. Otherwise, I got to get the lesson again. And then to recognize that you have to be willing to evict. And I say evict because an eviction is it's over, it's done, get out.
Right.
Evict is a strong word. You even say it strong, evict. Like
Yeah,
it's just you have to be willing to evict any part of your thinking that doesn't align with where you're going. So that's where I do this exercise. I recommend if you're listening, do this exercise. I do this exercise called Expose the Lies. I get a pencil and a red pen and a lot of paper. And in pencil, I write down every lie I'm telling myself that don't nobody else hear, but I know it because I'm with me. And I write down all my lies around money, all my lies around relationship, all my lies around my physical appearance, all my lies around my family, and I have a lot of them because the bigger you play, the more lies you have, by the way. So don't get all caught up beating yourself up if you have 7 pages of lies. The bigger you play, the bigger your breakdowns. Bottom line, just be okay with that. If you ain't having breakdowns, you ain't playing big enough. Your job is to walk through them breakdowns, right? And people sitting on the couch every day watching whatever, Housewives or somebody, they're not having a lot of breakdowns because they're not up to a lot. That's okay, no judgment. So I would write down all my lies in pencil. And I would sit and, I'm crying, ugly cry down my lies. And I'd put this in my first book. Writing down the lies, expose the lies in pencil, write down all
Give
the
me an
lies.
example of a lie.
Oh, yeah, money is hard to make.
Yes.
I can
Okay.
give you hold on. Like I'll never have a long lasting love. I make too much money for men to really see me as their equal and to really value me and to get into a loving relationship. My family will always think that I'm different because I travel the world and I'm around a lot of white people all the time.
Yeah.
Like all the stuff is stupid stuff, but it's true. It's in your head. It's the chatter in your head going on in your head all the time. It's my children, my
They
son.
might call it alternative facts today.
Right,
You know?
right,
So
right,
yeah.
right,
But
right.
we all tell ourselves these lies
Right.
and to expose them. I love that.
Right,
So
because
powerful.
in your head they got a lot of power because they're just between these ears in your head. But out here in the world, they're so small. You go as you're writing the lie, you're laughing. Like I'll write the lie and go,
Right,
"That's so
yes.
stupid."
Yeah.
But it has value and power in your head. So I've been doing this for years. All my students who step on my campus, I go, "Come on, y'all, let's do expose the lies." And so we just write in pencil. You write the lie in pencil and you skip 4 lines if it's on line paper, or you skip a space if it's on blank paper, and then you write another lie, and we'll just sit quietly for like 45 minutes. Everybody's like I put on some like nice healing music because you're gonna feel like you're sludging through your mud. And then you feel like a fraud, then you feel shame, then you feel guilt, and you're writing these lies and it feels ugly. Then I say, get out the red pen and now write the truth. And everyone gets stuck. I don't know what the truth is. Okay, but you knew that was a lie. Because you wrote it down. You chose
Right.
it. You chose it as a lie. So that means there is a truth that exists out there somewhere. You don't have to believe the truth today, but you know that there is a truth because you identified that as a lie. So write the truth whether you can own it now or not. So then everyone's writing the truth in red ink. Then I tell them for one day, read the lie and the truth together, because neuro-linguistic programming says that if you do an association, your mind will naturally jump to the association. So the last time you told yourself that lie, there was nothing there to counter it with. But the next time after reading lie, truth, lie, truth, lie, truth, lie, truth, right? You do that. If you really want to cement it, you do it 3 times. The next time you read the lie, your brain will naturally see the truth in that red ink. It's juicy stuff. So then you read the lie, the truth, so that now you have an association with the truth.
Right.
The next time the lie comes up, right? Then the final step is you take an eraser, a big eraser, and you erase all the lies that's written in pencil. And so I do that. I would constantly do that. I've done that exercise for like the last 9 years. I'm consistent to do it. I used to do it once a month because stuff would come up. And now I do it like every 8-9 months. I just write, okay, what are my lies? What are my lies? I'm in a new relationship. Okay, new lies just came up.
Right.
And of course I'm in a relationship that's international. So he's in another country. So I'm like, I can't make an international relationship work. Okay, that's the lie. Now what do I need? What's the truth?
Right.
And the truth is I can make anything work because I have time freedom, space freedom, and financial freedom. What are you talking about, chick?
Yeah.
Right?
As we, and you said it, as you grow and evolve,
Yes.
it becomes more, you get more of that,
Yes.
BIG said more money, more problems,
Right,
but
right.
really as we grow and achieve more success, it's easy to start coasting.
Absolutely.
And so to do this practice, to keep yourself accountable so you can keep reaching your potential,
Yes.
which is limitless.
Yes.
I really love that. And, there's a term for that as well. It's called acrasia. It's where we work against our better judgment. It's where we work against our knowledge
Love
of what actually is
Yeah,
truth.
yes.
And so often we will fight to protect our lies.
Yes.
Right? And so when we wake up to that, when we
Break
become
down
aware,
the house, break down the relationships, break down the job. It will all go to
Yes.
crap to protect our lives.
and time is, what I want people to understand is that time is going to pass anyways.
Right.
So you might as well spend your time working on your truth
Right.
than on the lie.
Well, and the truth is sexy. The truth is
Yeah, I love
attractive.
that.
If you look at my brand, My brand is not a brand of protection. My brand is a brand of truth. It's a brand of transparency. Someone said, "What if they find this out about you?" I said, "Well, if they tell the story wrong, I'm gonna correct them and tell the story right."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you remember way back in the day. You might not know. I don't know how old you are. You may not know, but way back in the day, the Phil Donahue show
You know
used to come
about
on,
Donahue?
and
Yeah.
Phil Donahue used to bust people out. He loved busting people out. You'd have someone on stage saying, "Yeah, I stopped drinking 20 years ago, and now I live a clean life." And then Phil say, "Well, you know what? We happen to have on the phone someone who was in the bar with you last weekend." Like, Phil Donahue would bust people out. And I
Yeah.
always said, I will never have a Phil Donahue moment,
Yeah.
because I'm going to sit on stage and say, "I had a drink last week, but today is a new day. Can I get a new chance?" Like, that's who I choose to be, which is why I knew last year, at my conference, I stood in front of about 1,100 people, between those who were live in my room and those who were online. And I shared the story of my health journey. And I shared that I had surgery, because I wanted to share my truth, and I wanted it to come from me. And at the time, I wasn't ready for it to be public. And I asked everyone in that conference, it was about 600 people in the room and about another 700 people online. I said, "Could we just keep this between us right now until I'm ready?" Do you know, it's been a year and a half. Not one person has mentioned it online.
That's amazing.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Isn't that
When you
amazing?
share your
When you
truth.
share your truth. And here's what the last thing that I want to share with you is, people want to be convenienced. They want growth and convenience. They want expansion and convenience. And the moment it becomes challenging, they want to quit. My grandmother says, "Baby," she starts every sentence with "baby." I'm sure it's because she can't remember our names, because it's a lot of us. She
Yeah.
says, "Baby, your conviction and your convenience don't live on the same block." She said, "You have to be willing to be mildly to moderately to significantly inconvenienced for that thing that you have a conviction for, that thing that you're passionate about, or at least tell the truth and say you really didn't want it in the first place. But don't sit here and complain and then quit when it gets hard, because everything on the other side of your possible is everything on the other side of what you thought was possible is the impossible waiting to happen in your life. But you will never find your next best version of you sitting inside your comfort zone. So I'm amazed at how many people come to me and they tell me the list of what they want. Then when I give them the what to do, they go, "Well, that's hard." And then I look at them. And you know me, I'm edgy. I just give them a look. I said, "Did you think I was going to give you the easy route?" And I didn't, and I don't know it for myself. There's no easy in transformation, but you can decide what you want to call difficult. See, I welcome challenging, because I know when I do that thing I don't want to do, and I say that thing I don't want to say, I access the woman I've always known myself to be. Sorry, I'm
I,
gonna
I
quit talking. I
almost
get
stood up and
excited.
started clapping. Yes,
Right,
yes, yes,
right,
yes,
right,
yes.
right. So I'm
I love it.
constantly,
Yeah.
people ask, "God, what was it like?" I was in a constant discomfort for 12 years.
Yeah.
A constant discomfort, constant inconvenience. Like, think about it. If you sign up for being inconvenienced, I'm gonna sign up for being inconvenienced because I want the lifestyle. I want the fact that at age 10, I was able to take my son to South Africa, and he stood on the top of this mountain that he thought was the tallest mountain in the world, because that's that same baby that I couldn't put Pampers on. And he stood on top of the mountain with no front teeth, and he says, "Mommy, I'm on top of the tallest mountain in the world." I still have that memory burned in my head. So for the inconvenience of eating beanies and weenies every day of the week for 3 years, for the inconvenience of getting free turkeys at Christmas and at New Year's, and standing in that line feeling both gratitude and shame, I'll do it over again every time to watch that child have a future that he deserved. And I'm willing, I can have access to it. Yeah, all day.
I'm just blown away. Of course, I knew that, you're obviously an exceptional human being, but you're somebody who reminds us that we are as well. And
Amen.
just one final quick thing I'd like for you to share is, what is the model? And you've already shared many pieces of this, but what is the model that you're setting with the way that you're living your life personally?
That's funny you should ask that question. That is so funny, Shawn. In 1992, I named my company. I went down to the Better Business Bureau thing, and my friend was with me, and I said, what's the name going to be? She said, I don't know. I said, I don't know either. She said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to inspire people. She said, to do what? I said, to live their best life. She said, well, how you going to do that? I said, I'm going to motivate them. She goes, well, who you going to motivate? I said, everybody. She said, like the masses? I said, the masses. She said, well, why don't we call it motivating the masses?
Yeah.
I said, okay. And she said, what do you want to be? I said, when it comes to possibility, healing, hope, and getting up, I want to be the standard by which other people measure possibility. And no one has ever asked me that question. But I never forgot my answer when she asked me, because everything I wanted to do was living into that intention of I want what I do, the company, the conversation to be the standard by which what possibility and healing is measured by. Determination and resiliency. See, I'm not the fastest kid on the team. I'm not the smartest cookie in the cookie jar. I'm not. I'm not the cutest girl in line. I'm not. But what I do have is more resiliency and determination than most. I'm not the one that's been able to dodge the bullet. I've been hit by the bullet. But I'm the one who was willing to love the shooter. That's the distinction. I'm not the one who got the hookup. I'm the one who's willing to keep getting up. And if you're willing to keep getting up, you won't ever be afraid of being knocked down. And if you're not afraid of not being knocked down, then you will give yourself permission to fly. Failure is my friend. Failure is my friend because I've learned how to fail forward.
Yeah.
Darkness keeps me company because I've learned how to walk through it. I never take out real estate in my darkness, so I'm not afraid of darkness. So when you get to that place, then everything is free game. Or you wake up and say, okay, what next? Bring it on. Because I'll fail. I'll fail today. I'm okay with that. I'll fail forward. I'll go through darkness today. I'm okay because there's light on the other side, and I ain't taking out real estate. I ain't even taking out lease option to buy. I ain't even doing a rent to own in my darkness. I'm going to keep going. So now you welcome it all. And in 1992, I said, I want to be the standard by what that possibility represents. And I don't need to be a celebrity. I want to be very clear. I never, ever asked to be a celebrity. The most uncomfortable time in my life was when The Secret came out. Because it made me, I was on Oprah and I was on Larry King. And I was like, whoa, I was okay leading from behind, And so then I had to get comfortable. Oh, this is a byproduct of doing my work. This is a byproduct of doing good work. Be okay with this. So then, okay, I say yes to that too. And so.
Yeah. Oh, well,
Thank you for the
no,
question.
this has to be one of the best answers that I've
Amen.
ever heard. And Lisa, if you could please let people know where they can connect with you online. I know you've got some programs. You kept mentioning your students, so please let everybody know.
Oh, it's funny. This is always the awkward time because I never come with that in mind. Thank you for allowing me. You would go to, as you know, my name, motivatingthemasses.com.
Yes.
And my request is that you jump into something that's a baby step. Give yourself a small yes. We always try to go for the big yeses and the big things. I want to go 1,000 miles. Just walk 10 feet with me. And if it feels right, then walk 10 more feet with me. And my goal is to walk hand in hand with people who want to transform their future into something barely recognizable, because that's what I was able to do. And I believe that this isn't just for some of us, that abundance is our birthright. It's our birthright, regardless of our culture, our religious background, our economic status, our geographical origin, our physical appearance. That abundance is our birthright. It's not just for some people. It is, in fact, for everyone. It's not a myth. It's a possibility. And it won't ever come to your door delivered by UPS or FedEx. You got to get up. You got to flex your muscles. Build the muscles that are in atrophy. whether it's your quads, your triceps, your abs, or your financial muscle, your forgiveness muscle, your emotional muscle, your faith muscle. You got to build your muscles that are in atrophy so you can have the life that you deserve. And no one's going to do your sit-ups for you but you. You are and have always been your own rescue.
Yes. I know, I know for certain, just having the opportunity to meet you and to see how much you give,
Thank you.
and even the overcoming obstacles, going through the darkness to even get here today is just remarkable, and I'm very grateful for you. But so we got
Yes.
motivatingthemasses.com. People can find you, and I'm finding you here, and everybody else is finding you here on the Model Health Show. And I just want to thank
Thank you for
you
having me. It means
from,
a lot to be here.
oh, it's totally my pleasure. And from my heart to yours, I acknowledge you, and I'm so grateful for all of the times that you said yes to your mission despite the circumstances. And thank you for coming and inspiring everybody today. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Shawn. I want to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for being a stand for people in possibility. I want to acknowledge you as a man, as a son, as a father, as a husband, and as a brother. That when you decide to shepherd people and you decide to be a part of the solution, the conversation, the possibility, that comes with a heavy mantle. It's not easy because you have to choose to be the conversation in the dark of the night when no one's looking, on the days that it doesn't feel good, in order to sit in front of the camera and in front of the mic and serve from your overflow. So I'm honored. I'm honored that you would find value in what I say and what I bring enough to ask me to come. But I'm more honored to walk the planet at the same time as you. And it encourages me as a mother of a son. It encourages me as a sister of a brother, as a daughter of a man, to sit in the space with you. It really does. I've been sitting here basking in who you are, basking in you as a husband, seeing your wife and seeing her and loving her and honoring her and as a father. I've been just allowing it to sit up with me and serve me selfishly while we are in this time. So I'm honored to know you and honored to be with you.
Thank you. I have the truth bumps. Thank you
Amen.
so much. I appreciate you immensely, Lisa. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in and spending this time with us. Make sure, like yesterday, go and check out motivatingthemasses.com. Connect with Lisa, follow her online, and check out her amazing talks all over the interwebs. I'm so grateful for you tuning in with me and sharing your time. I know how valuable you are in your time. And hopefully today you start to understand more about how valuable you are. And one of the big things that I want you to take away from today and that Lisa shared is we're all going to go through tough spots. We're going to go through darkness, but we keep moving forward. You know, we don't want to take up real estate there in the upside down. All right. Shout out to everybody watching Stranger Things. But we don't want to take up real estate in this darkness because this is not where we're supposed to live, and to just keep moving forward. And one of the big things is understanding that some of the greatest stories, I really think that you're in process right now. If you're finding yourself in struggle, in challenge, you're in process, and it's going to be a great story for you to share to help others. And this is why you cannot stop. You keep moving forward. And thank you for making me a part of your life and allowing me to serve and to give my gift. And I promise we've got some amazing, amazing episodes coming up with some just incredible guests and incredible show topics, but none more important than today with the one and only Lisa Nichols. I appreciate you so much for tuning in. Take care, have an amazing day, and I'll talk with you soon.